In this session we're going to talk about the World Wide Web. We're also going to look at some of the background to it, the development of the hypertext markup language and the transfer protocols that enables the web to work. So let's look at, start by looking at the World Wide Web. It's the most significant development of the internet, and it's the one which has made the most impact, I suppose, on our everyday lives. This has been a phenomenal exercise in communications, in data transfer, data delivery, and also in communications, and in fact it cuts across nearly all aspects of our lives. The web allows the user to interchange and interconnect documents using hypertext. Now, we often forget that hypertext is such an amazing discovery or an amazing development. But the fact that we have a document and we're able to hypertext another document, and the other document could be on a computer the other side of the world, is phenomenal. And whilst reading the first document, we can click on the hyperlink and we find ourselves in the second document, which is on a totally separate machine somewhere else. The whole idea of hypertext is a phenomenal development. It has implications for research, for businesses, and for the way we communicate. It's one of the big developments in the history of the web, but also, I suppose, really in the history of mankind. So we can interlink processes where one document is linked to another through a hotlink or hyperlink. It doesn't have to be a word, it could be a picture, it can be an icon, just anything which is on a page just about can be hyperlinked. And it triggers the link to another document located on another computer in some other location in the world. And that's a phenomenal development, as I said. The protocol that allows this to happen is called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. And that's what appears in internet addresses. When we type in an address, we go http://www. whatever the address is. So this protocol enables us to use the concept and the use of hyperlinks. Now let's look at global hypertext publishing with HTML and HTTP. Well, in the 1980s, the International Standards Organization released the specification of a standard generalized markup language, SGML, a standard generalized markup language. The protocol defined documents in plain text with tags embedded in the text to specify the definition. But it also enabled a wider view of documents. Documents became more active. They weren't simply plain passive documents. These ones could have concealed messages that only when the link was pressed did a supplementary piece of information about the text open. So the documents may appear uncluttered and yet contain a lot of information. And of course it's a small step from there to the actual process of hyperlinking. The hypertext markup language, HTML, is a form of the standard generalized markup language. And it's HTML that's brought the revolution. HTML is the language of the internet. It's the language of the web, to be more precise. It means that when we develop web pages, they have a particular format. that the information on the web page is put in a particular format. We don't necessarily need specialist equipment to do this. We could use any text processor. Notepad, for example, is quite popular amongst Windows users. But also there is an increasing number of HTML generators. These are applications which help us to develop very sophisticated looking web pages, and they do the code for us. We simply type in plain English, and the application generates the code. The hypertext markup language, as I said, is the basis for the web. It's how we communicate, and therefore is extremely important. It links with the web browser, and the web browser can interpret the web page and deliver the web page in a format that was intended by the designer. The people who design web pages don't want a lot of code appearing on the page. They want the page to look quite artistic, to look uncluttered. Well, the browser reads the HTML code and knows which parts to deliver onto the page. HTML allows documents to be linked one page to another. So this idea of linking the documents back to hypertext is rooted in HTML. Simply, when developing a web page, the designer, the developer, may decide to link another page to that page. In fact, that person may wish to link another site to that web page. Or if it's a research document and part of the document is dependent on a different website, then in the bibliography that second website may appear as a hyperlink. HTML also allows multimedia objects to be included in a document. We can now include video, sound, we can include animations. So it's not just pictures and text. We can embed a video into the document. To enable consistent transmission of documents on the web, HTTP was developed and adopted. HTTP is what allows us to transmit the documents on the web. This is the transfer protocol, the hypertext transfer protocol. It delivers the documents on the web. It's a multimedia transport protocol. It can deliver videos or sound or pictures or web pages. So it's quite flexible. It's a multimedia transport protocol. It does not process the package of data it transmits, but rather it allows the users to search for information or data. So it's not concerned with the data that it transmits, it simply transmits it. That is what needs to be done, so it moves or transmits the document from A to B. It also allows databases to interact and information to be manipulated. So the hypertext transfer protocol can allow us to look into databases and interrogate databases. So a database, the front end of a database may be embedded on a web page, and then we can enter different values and read off the resultant outcomes from the database. It defines computer links to the web when those computers support software that allows them to freely interact with other computers. So it's the basis for modern transfer of information, of videos, sound, web pages. This is how it's done. It's done through the medium of the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The links are actually provided by what's called web servers. A web server is a machine that simply delivers the web pages. So HTTP links to web servers. The web servers understand HTTP. The software and the servers understand it, and they understand where the documents are routed and the commands that they need to follow. So web servers are what delivers the documents. The web servers don't develop the documents. They don't develop websites or web pages. The web servers simply deliver the websites and the web pages. This process of HTTP and the use of HTML, this defines the web within the internet. So this is what distinguishes the web from the internet. The internet is much wider. Web servers hold home pages and sites, and the transfer of data within these pages relies on the simplicity and speed of the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. So the sites are held on the servers, and the commands which are delivered from the user's browser via connections will bring back, via search engines and so on, will bring back the information from the servers. In addition to the TCP/IP and HTTP protocols, the internet uses other protocols. Remember I said in a different session actually, which you've hopefully looked at, the TCP/IP is the fundamental protocol of the internet. The HTTP is the protocol that calls up and requests web pages. But there are others. There's the File Transfer Protocol, FTP, which allows the transfer of files between computers. It's very useful when people develop websites. They generally develop the website on their desktop or on their laptop machines using sophisticated applications. They can develop quite sophisticated websites. But the website now is on their laptop. They need to get their website onto a server. If they can't, it won't be accessible on the internet. So how they do that is to use this extra piece of software called an FTP package. And there are several of these available, many of them free downloads. The one that I tend to use is FileZilla, which is a download. It connects to the server, and then it connects the laptop to the server, and simply by dragging and dropping, the files are pulled across and put onto the server, where they become part of the internet, part of the World Wide Web. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol to enable mail transfers, email transfers for example, between computers and the organization. This is the SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. There's also the multi-purpose Internet Mail Extension, MIME, to enable mail transfer in complex organizations. So the multi-purpose Internet Mail Extension, MIME, is used in complex organizations to deliver emails and communications throughout the organization. Finally, web servers are computers that run HTTP and are connected to a TCP/IP network. So that's what web servers are. They are computers that run HTTP and they're connected to a TCP/IP network. The web address that identifies other websites and specific web pages is called the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, the URL. It's a means of specifying a resource by incorporating the protocol, the machine path, the path, and the file. The extensible markup language is a data format for structured documents and is used for the exchange of data and the interchange of data on the web. So it's XML, the extensible markup language, is for very structured documents. It's often used in the context of highly structured spreadsheets, or it could be to do with specialist graphics. A markup language is a mechanism to identify structures in a document. XML is a markup language for documents that contains structured information. Perhaps when one page of a spreadsheet is linked through perhaps a paste special set of commands is linked to another page. So there's a very structured organization of the spreadsheet. And then XML seems like an appropriate language for handling that document on the internet. Structured information is common in most documents and has two elements. First of all, there's the content, the pictures, the text, the graphics, and so on. And then there's the role that the content plays in the document. What's the content doing in the document? So there are two parts to structured information. There's the actual content, but the actual content could be jumbled up. So it needs to be structured so as to make sense. So what role does the individual parts play in the document, and what's the sequence? Where do they appear in the document? The position of content element in a document influences the meaning of the document. It's important that documents start at the beginning and end at the end. They must read through. There must be a logic in the way content is delivered. Otherwise, it's a set of jumbled ideas, which is difficult for the person reading it or interpreting it to make sense and understand exactly what the document is trying to do. XML defines a standard way to add markup to documents, but it is different to HTML. In HTML, the tag sets and tag semantics are fixed by protocols established by the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, which are established within existing browsers. So with HTML, the tags are established and set up within existing browsers. When the browser reads a web page, it sees the tags on the web page, it knows how to lay out the information, how to set out the web page without showing the code that generates the web page. XML does not fix tags, sets or semantics used. It enables the user to define tags and the structured relationships between them. So XML enables the users to set where the tags are and the relationships between them. It's designed for applications, especially structured documents using the web. Highly structured documents, as I said earlier, tend to use XML. It could be spreadsheets, as I said earlier, but highly structured ones, perhaps with a very sophisticated set of rules internally, linking different parts of the spreadsheet, and it could even be pulling in external information. And in that case, XML is the language of choice. There are also active server pages developed by Microsoft. These allow for the creation of dynamic internet sites by putting databases on the internet. Now, the use of a database on the internet facilitates the realism and the usefulness of many sites. When a database is included in the site, then the person accessing the site can interrogate the database and get quite detailed background information or information that was required from the site. So the advent of the use of databases in the internet was quite a big breakthrough. Customers can search company databases and retrieve updated information about stocks and about prices and deliveries, and all sorts of information can be stored on the database and made available to those accessing the sites. JavaScript allows developers to add scrolling messages and data input forms to web pages. So JavaScript can create a more dynamic type of web page where information is scrolling and where information is moving. It's more dynamic. It looks more active than traditional web pages. But it also can be used to design input forms. For example, doing a survey amongst visitors to the site regarding some piece of information that's sought. Now, the forms that are used could be designed and delivered in Java. There are different ways of doing it, but that's one possibility. It's considered easier to use than Java. JavaScript is easier than Java. There are two languages. Java tends to be more difficult, and the learning curve is a lot steeper. So JavaScript tends to be the language of choice. Now back to URLs. Well, the HTML document forms a website, and the HTML documents that form the website are defined by a URL, a Uniform Resource Locator. The URL is a protocol or standard that gives the address or location of a website. Without a URL, we can't find our way around. Without a URL, there would be perhaps websites that we can never find because we don't know what the address is, we don't know where they are, we don't know how to call them up. So we need a URL. And the URL is made up of the following. The protocol is required, HTTP being the internet protocol we talked about earlier. So that protocol is useful. The hypertext transfer protocol. So once we type that into the browser knows what it's looking for. It's looking for particular types of files. It can go and look for those. But it also has a server address. For example, www.galtoncollege.com. This address specifies the server where the site is stored. So now the browser knows it's HTTP, and it knows it's www, and it's Galton College, and the .com, which was originally mostly an American extension. We could have .co.uk or .ie or .tv or .whatever. And there's an increasing number of extensions being brought out currently. But the point is, the browser knows to go looking for that particular address, and it specifies where the address is stored. The last part of the URL refers to the location of the specific documents. So generally speaking, when we type in the address, the interrogation is made easy. The World Wide Web interrogation, looking for the document, is made easier by having that full address. And that's it. This is a brief tour of HTTP, HTML, URLs, and just a brief discussion of how it fits together to deliver the web pages to us. There's much more available in terms of reading matter on these topics that's worth looking into and are available on the Moodle site. But that's all I'm going to deal with at the moment in this one, and as usual I'm going to say thank you for watching.